Hey, we are back. Somebody's already in the room. Yes. Listen, it has been a long time. I know I am so sorry, but listen, we are back and we have some people, honey. Tonight, our guest is going to be so amazing to talk to this guest. Now, listen, if this is your very first time catching it, my name is Dr. Yolanda Ferguson. I'm the creator and host of Stay Out Your Lane podcast. Yes. Stay out your lane, where we promise to do 4 things every single week. Now, the very first thing is S, where you get stories from people who, have gone through something, right? Who have transitioned in one way or another, or have taken their career or their trade and have expanded to do some amazing things that you don't normally see people doing in that field. That's what Stay Out Your Lane is all about. So that's number 1, stories. The second thing that you get is an offer, right? Because you're not going to sit here and listen to us all day and all night and not get to work. We have actionable to-dos with every single lesson, every single podcast. There are things for you to do to ignite the passion inside of you. That's 2. Number 3 is yield. Let me tell you, you have got to yield to that greatness that's inside of you. And when this guest gets through talking to you today, you're going to be ready to just do all the things. Everything on your list, you're going to be ready to knock it all the way out. So listen. Last but not least is to leverage. Now, we all have something inside of us that we just are not maximizing, right? So on this podcast, our goal is to help you leverage some of the skills and talents and things that you already have to knock it out the ballpark and take it to the next level. Now, let me get a temperature check. Let me see who's in the room. Tehran, thanks for joining. I'm sure people are going to be coming in and out. As you do that, I want you to make sure you are sharing this Facebook Live with your friends, with your family, making sure everybody's able to get in on this, because this guest, you're not going to want to miss her. So let me go into just the cream of the crop about this young lady, right? Because she is an amazing guest, but she's also a good friend of mine. And I don't take it lightly that she's here, because she could be a lot of places. And she's been a lot of places. Let me tell you, when you get to hear her story, you'll understand what a treasure and a pleasure it is to have her on. Let me see, this light is really bright. Okay, there we go. All right, so none other than Dr. And I'm so pleased to say Doctor, because when we first met a few years ago, it was just Yolanda. But she was always amazing. Let's just be clear. She was always amazing, but she's now Dr. Yolanda. And let me just give you guys a title again. This is from Behind Bars to Breaking Barriers. Oh, God. Yolanda has done some things that people would just lose it. They would just say, okay, it's over. I'm done. There's nothing else that can be accomplished here. I'm out. But she didn't allow that to just conquer her. She is an author. We've written a book together, as a matter of fact. She's an author. She's a serial entrepreneur, meaning not just one business, several, and we're going to talk about those businesses. She is also a scholar. Again, Dr. Yolanda Flournah Perkins. And she's a mom of 2 precocious, beautiful kids that have inspired some of her businesses, as well as a wife. We call them the Percolator family. As you will see, they are light and lively. Her personality is infectious. And let me just, without a further doubt, I just want to bring her on. Yolanda, come into the room, darling. How are you?
Can you see me?
Yes, I can. If you guys are on, let us know if you have any trouble seeing. But listen, this young lady, oh my gosh, Yolanda. I'm saying Yolanda, but I just want to say Dr. Flournah Perkins all the time. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You ignited social media, in May? Posting all these amazing pictures of you in your gown, kissing your baby girl. We're gonna have to put some more pictures up on the website.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm about to say you're real tame right now, because normally I'm like, okay, Yolanda, calm down. We good.
I'm trying to be calm.
No, you don't have to be calm. This audience is for you, girl. Listen, we got to share some of these gems of who you are and what's going on, because the people need to know, honey. They have to know.
Yes.
Listen, first of all, like I said, congratulations. But I want you to let people know, because the whole basis of this podcast, right, like I mentioned, is for us to share stories of people that have gone through successes, right, as well as struggle. We don't want to candy coat it. We want to let people know that there are situations where life are going to come up, and you have to be ready to embrace it. Now, people think I'm a speaker, honey. Yolanda will blow the ceiling off the roof. This is also a TEDx speaker, if I haven't mentioned that. Tell us about, first of all, your story in general, how you came to serve a sentence, if you don't mind sharing. I know you shared it before. But for those who don't know your story, how you came to serve a sentence, and then what sort of catapulted you to the place where you decided, okay, I'm getting a second chance. I'm about to explode this thing. Just so people can get a flavor of who you are.
So, first of all, let me let everybody know that it is such an honor to do this interview with you.
The pleasure
So,
is mine. Trust me.
it is an honor. You and I have been knowing each other for several years now,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
like Anissa just said, we actually met when we co-authored our book She Conquered back in Atlanta. And
mm-hmm.
although our encounter was very brief, we continued a relationship, a friendship
Yes.
that we continue to connect with each other all the time, whether it is you texting me or I'm texting you or whatever the case may be. um, High-fiving each other across the social media waves,
Absolutely.
getting feedback, ideas, or whatever the case may be. So you and I definitely have been connected for a while, and I just appreciate you, and I appreciate how you just introduced me. That really makes me feel so
Oh,
good, and I'm gonna be really good
all
tonight.
true.
I'm not
All
gonna be
true.
all loud.
That is who you have to be, who you are, right?
Yeah,
Be who
yeah,
you
but
are.
it is truly an honor to be here, and I just want to say thank you,
You
and
are
I
so
just want to
welcome.
continue to give my flowers while I can.
Oh,
And so I
yes.
just want to say thank you, and you're such an amazing resource, an amazing friend, and I'm so
Thank
so
you.
appreciative of you. So thank you.
Thank you. No problem. It looks like you get some congratulations here too. Rashinda says
Thank
congratulations.
you. You know what? I didn't pay that
Yes.
any attention.
Nicole
I want to make
also says
sure I give.
congratulations. Yep, you're
Thank
getting
you. Thank
high
you. Oh,
fives
I
and
see somebody
everything,
got some
baby.
fire. Thank
Yes,
you.
we bringing the fire tonight. I'm telling you. Hey, Nicole. Hey, Rashinda.
Hi. Hey,
Oh, hey,
Nicole.
thank you guys for joining us. Please share this
Yes.
with your family and friends. All right, Yolanda, we are ready, girl. Come
I'm
on.
ready. Let's go.
So, what year was this when you received notice?
So let me just share with everyone, just so we all understand. I, just like anybody else, I would hope that just like everybody else, when in school, elementary school, high school, whatever, when people ask you, what is it that you want to be when you grow up, there's nobody, I don't believe, in their right frame of mind that yells out, oh, I want to go to prison, and so the reality is that that's what happened to me. But even though I went to prison, there was a few things that kind of, a few components of my life that kind of steered me that way. And the reason
Okay.
why I say components is because I dealt with low self-esteem, but here's the thing: I didn't know that it was low self-esteem. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I
Yes.
didn't know that I had an issue with low self-esteem until I got to college. And so, so I got my notice my senior year that I was scheduled to graduate from the University of Central Florida is when I was sentenced to, well, I was facing, I think, maybe 20 to 25 years. I was
Wow,
facing
I don't
20
think
to
I knew that
25
part.
year sentence, but I pleaded guilty to possession of stolen mail, and I was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison in exchange for the plea agreement. They
Mm-hmm.
dropped the credit card fraud charge and the possession of stolen mail charge, I guess, which is the lighter sentence of the charge, is how I ended up with 3 years in federal prison.
Well, you know what? Before you even go any further, I don't want to belabor the point, but I do want to sort of unpack that a little bit because I don't want people to walk away thinking that, oh, she just did so horrible, terrible. Not, I'm not excusing it, right?
Right,
But what I want to say is that when we're younger, right, college age, everything is thrown in front of you, right? And I remember
right,
us having more of a conversation about this, and when you spoke about it before, about trying to impress. I think it was you were trying to impress a guy or somebody you were seeing, and you were trying
right.
to acquire some things. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because
Sure.
this situation, people face this like in real life. This is just a mistake that you happen to be caught on, quote unquote, right?
Right.
But at the same time, these are things that probably anybody who's listening and who will watch this afterwards will sit back and say, you know what, dang, I've done a couple of things in my past where I just didn't get caught. You know,
Right.
I just didn't get caught. You know what I mean? So I want you to talk about that, because it's somebody who's going to watch this and is going to turn around and say, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that. Or maybe what I am experiencing is low self-esteem. And there's a different way that I can, you know, handle this.
Right. So absolutely. So yes, when I did get to school, when I graduated from high school, I went to Orlando to go to school. I didn't start off at the university level. I was at the junior college, or Valencia Community College. And yes, I at that point I really didn't have a boyfriend, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just like anybody else, you're trying to find yourself and all of that.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm still looking, honey.
and just like a lot of people, I met this guy and fell in love, and was doing everything that I could to keep him to just wanted to be interested in me only.
Mm-hmm.
And you know and I guess looking back, that's how horrible, and I'm not going to say horrible, that's how low my self-esteem was, because I was willing to go so far and so low,
Uh-huh.
to that I was willing, that I positioned myself that landed me in prison. But my self-esteem was so low to that I was doing whatever I can to keep his attention on me and not anybody else. And what I failed to realize is that we're young, we're in college. We see all kinds of beauties and looks, um and what I was trying to do was to entice him with buying him things. We
Mm-hmm.
all, what I would say to myself at that time is, what can I do to keep him to like me? Like, what can I do to keep him to be interested in just me?
Yeah.
And, what I realized after the fact is that it didn't matter what I did. He's young, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
he's just going to venture out and he's going to do these things. And so that's what happened with me. And I focused a lot of my attention on trying to please him. And that meant buying whatever it is that I could buy for him. And when I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have the money to buy for him, I went to another extreme. I was so smart, so I was trying to think, how else can I get him, and what else can I do? I'm strapped for funds. What else can I do to get him
Mm-hmm.
to like me? And so I was working at the mailroom in my apartment complex at the time, and I started stealing credit cards. No, I'm not excusing the behavior, because I knew
Right.
better. Trust me, when I left my parents' house, I knew the difference, and I still know the difference between right and wrong. We all do. But
Yep.
just like anybody, just like parents, we can only pray and hope that when our kids leave, that
Absolutely.
all the instructions that we have instilled within them, that they're going to go off and do the right thing. And although I was equipped enough, so I thought, and so my family thought, or my
Mm-hmm.
parents thought, to go in and make the right decisions while I'm away from home, that didn't happen. Circumstances and life, and just being independent and away from home, I made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Um, and as a result of me repeatedly stealing credit cards to entice this guy to like me, only to later find out that it didn't matter how much that I bought him, he was still going to do what he was doing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and but nevertheless, and as a result, I ended up going to prison.
Okay. Oh, wow. Listen, I'm telling you, I can tell you at least 10 people. I can name a person for every finger that I have who has been in a situation where they felt like they really wanted to garner the attention of somebody else. Right. And then we've seen like a lot of comments. They're saying, yes, they love the way that you're sharing the story, because people can resonate with that. You know what I'm saying? We all have that element that's just saying, dag, like, am I good enough? Now we call
Right,
it imposter syndrome, right?
right,
But you could
right.
have allowed that to stop you. So we're not gonna go in detail about prison specifically, but fast forward 3 years, you do your time, you say, listen, I have paid for the things that I've done. Now you're out. You're in a halfway home, right? You're
Yeah.
transitioning. They're coming back into society, as they say. And you had some challenges,
Oh
right?
yeah.
From what I hear, 250 applications
I probably more
or
than
more.
that.
Tell us about that when you were trying to transition from that, because I want people to really see and understand how you could go from a place where you feel like the world is stacked against you and what you had just been through to now. We're going to jump into what we're doing now, but to go from there to where you are now, let us know or tell people how you went and how you transitioned from the transition home to actually going into having your first job and your first opportunity?
So, you know, whew,
I know memories. I know, but it's a bridge you've
so,
crossed. It's a bridge you've crossed. It's okay.
um, so when I was released from when I was released from prison, I went to the halfway house, and I was required to be there for 3 months. And when you're incarcerated, you can't control anything that happens on the outside. You know, Thankfully at that time I didn't have kids,
Okay.
but when you're incarcerated, you can't control the outside world. You can't control that atmosphere, and
Right.
so a lot of things you try to block out. So when I was released to the halfway house, I was still equipped in my mind with some college, because I was a senior when I graduated. I was a senior, instead of graduating, I went to prison. So I did have some college, and I
Mm-hmm.
was knowledgeable, and I'm not, I was pretty smart. I just, made just a terrible
Very
decision.
smart.
And so I get to the halfway house, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that I'm going to hit the ground running. In my mind, I hit the ground running. Physically,
Mm-hmm.
I hit the ground running. Emotionally, I was not prepared for the no's.
Mm.
We don't have the time or the day. This will be for another time for me to sit back and tell how I think I was eventually prepared for hearing the no's early
Mm-hmm.
on in life. But when I got to the halfway house, I wasn't prepared to hear no's. I just assumed that I would find a job. And what happened was, like with just about anybody else that is re-entering and transitioning back into society from incarceration or some type of, criminal justice system,
Uh-huh.
is I was met with no's with trying to find a job. I mean, as an African American woman, I
Mm-hmm.
was faced with a lot of no's. And I mean, I looked for jobs: Burger King, McDonald's, Taco Bell, office jobs, everything that was inside air conditioned is what I was looking for.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, I was met with no's. And what a lot of people don't know, and only those that, unless you, again, like I said, unless you know someone directly or indirectly that's been impacted by the system, you really
Mm-hmm.
don't understand. And so there are case managers that are placed in the halfway house, and their
Mm-hmm.
job, so I thought, was to provide some type of assistance, reassurance, uh, a mediator to kind of help us connect the things to get over the bridge.
Right.
But instead, that's not what I experienced. What I experienced was a case manager that was totally opposite, was not supportive, was very, very hard on me,
Hmm.
and was prepared to violate me because I couldn't find a job to go back to prison.
Wow.
And so,
And how? Quick
while
question: how
most
long did they give you to find a new job
So when I got to the
or
halfway house,
employment?
I was there at the halfway house for at least 3 to 4 weeks
Wow. Okay.
before I was called back into my case manager's office to say, hey, what's going on? What's the
Okay.
deal? And I'm like, I'm looking for a job. What was happening was, as I was going on these job interviews, my case manager would call the from the halfway house, would call the job site where my interview was at,
Mm-hmm.
because when you are in the halfway house, you are monitored. And so in
Okay.
order for you to go to these interviews, you have to, you have to get a pass. And the
Okay.
pass allows you to go to where you're going and back. Keep in
Mm-hmm.
mind that while I'm in the halfway house, and if you don't have a job or any type of employment, one, you can't obtain a vehicle to be able to go back and forth. So you either depend on family, friend support, or the public transportation. Well, I'm in
Wow.
Fort Myers. I don't know anybody from here. I'm originally from Clewiston. I have been living in Orlando. I have been in prison. I have been to 3 different prisons. Now I'm in Fort Myers at a
Yeah.
halfway house. I don't know anyone here. So
Right.
it was very hard for me. And so, yes, I had to learn how to ride the public transportation system, where in my
Hmm.
town, a small town in Clewiston, we don't have transportation like that.
Got it.
So on top of that, I was faced with those challenges. And and what was happening was, as I would go to these interviews, my case manager would call the interview site and ask if the inmate Yolanda Flournah was at her interview. And then, of course, when someone gets the phone call, inmate, you mean we got an inmate walking in here? Not fully understanding the circumstances surrounding why she's labeling me. I honestly believe it was done out of spite. And so by the time it's time for me to do my interview, or while I'm there, I would get called out to say, you know, hey, I'm sorry. Or actually what I would be told was, Miss Flournah, thank you so much for being here. Unfortunately, we have fulfilled that position. And so that's what I started. That's what I would get. And so then I would have to go back to the halfway house. So every time I would try to take a step forward, it would be two steps backwards, because every time the halfway house would call or my case manager would make a call, no one would hire me. So
Wow.
those series of events happened for a very long time while I was at the halfway house, and then I finally got the last call to come back to her office, and she told me that I was going to be violated if I didn't find a job, because the third thing is basically, yes, sabotaging is exactly what it was. So what happened is, also, if you're not working while you're at the halfway house, um, uh, you can't pay for your stay to be there. And if you can't pay for your stay to be housed at the halfway house, yes, they take a percentage of your paycheck to be there. Then you can't pay your rent, so to speak. And so as a result, you would be violated. So I was facing violation. And I can remember the conversation. I love to share this because it puts it in perspective for a lot of people. I remember being called, I think, on the intercom to come back to her office. And I go to her office and I'm like, hi, and she's saying, okay, what's the problem? Why don't you have a job? And I was like, I'm trying to find a job. I'm at the payphone using quarters, calling. I'm in the phone book. I'm on Career Builder. This is when Career Builder was really popular. I'm on Monster.com. This is when Monster was really, really popular. I've created accounts all across the board. I've called every staffing agency, McDonald's, Taco Bell's, Burger King, Domino's. No one's hiring me. No one wants to hire. And so I'm stuck. And so she says, well, why don't you go work on the construction site where your roommate is at? And I'm like, I don't want to work on a construction site.
Wow.
And so she was like, well, you need to do something. And I'm like, no, I can't work on a construction site. Well, if you don't work on a construction site, we're going to violate you. Well, how are you going to violate me? Because I don't want to work on a construction site. I don't work outside in the heat. I just can't. I don't.
Yeah. I understand.
And so I went back to my room in tears, and my roommate, another roommate, Johanna, was in there, and she's just like, what's up, mama? Why are you crying? And I'm like, I'm going to get violated. Like, I don't even do anything to anyone, and I'm going to get violated.
Now, violated, did that mean that you could potentially go back to prison?
Yes. Violate means what happens when you get violated mean that what happens, you'd probably call the sheriff department. They would probably arrest me. Then my probation officer would get involved, and I would probably have to sit in the county until they make a decision on what to happen. Either release me back into the halfway house or send me back to the prison, and I don't know if the prison would be the same one. It may send ship me here, ship me there. I don't know. And so that's the thing, you don't know, right? So my roommate Johanna said, no, mama, you're not going to go to the house. You're not going to be violated. So she says, just go to Goodwill tomorrow and apply for a job. And when you get to Goodwill, just put down my store number and then we'll hire you. No big deal. And so that's what happened the next day. I went to go. My case manager actually wasn't there. So I went to another case manager, Ron. And Ron he was extremely nice my entire time there. And I said, listen, Johanna's job will hire me. That's what she said. Do you mind if I get a bus pass? Again, you have to ask. Do you mind if I get a bus pass to go to Goodwill? So and that was fine. So I did go, and then I get to Goodwill. I fill out a job application, and I think this is important to note, and this is one of the things I have not shared. Unless you follow me, you'll know. When I get to leave the halfway house to get to Goodwill, I fill out the paper application because at the time they were still doing paper applications.
Right.
And I fill it out, and I know that I'm trying to make that bus to get back to the halfway house because I have a time frame to be back. And as I'm leaving to go down the stairs, the HR generalist comes out the door asking me to come back in because she had read on my application that I see that you speak Spanish. And so and why that is so significant and why is that so important that I speak Spanish and why I wrote yes is because when I was in high school at the age of 15, I had this amazing opportunity to participate in an exchange program through the Rotary Club. And I chose to go to Buenos Aires, Argentina. And so while I was in Argentina, my host family, or my host mother, Irma, one of the things that I would have to do every day if I wanted to watch the only English speaking channel in the house was I had to do extra homework. And so my extra homework would be she would have an article for me to read in the paper that I would have to read, translate, write it, and explain it to her in Spanish. And at the
Wow.
time when I was 15, 16, I didn't quite understand why this lady was putting me through torture. And then I go to prison. And
Wow.
then the first place that I self-surrendered at the Federal Correctional Institution in Tallahassee. And while I was there, the majority of the women inmates that were in prison were Spanish-speaking women that was from Cuba or Mexico. And so some of them didn't speak English. And
Mhm.
so I just kind of, got my game even better speaking Spanish, so to
Wow.
speak. And not seeing, and that's why I wanted to share that, is because I honestly believe that everything, although I made this horrible decision in college, I truly believe that everything was already destined. And I
Listen,
just think that God said to himself, like, I know she's gonna go, as smart as she is, she's gonna go make some trouble. But I
child,
want
you
her to be
already
prepared.
know.
I want her to be prepared when
Yes.
she does make this trouble. I want her to feel her back against the wall. And I already know
Mm.
that she's gonna be able to get through it because she done been through
Mhm.
prison, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Listen, I'm already feeling encouraged. And the funny thing is, Nicole says here, she was like, wow, she was noticing that the lady was trying to sabotage you, but she already said just what you said, that no weapon formed against you is going to prosper, right?
right.
Wow. And the crazy thing is, in this climate right now, with all of the politics that are going on, and we're talking so much about prison reform and things like that. Somebody said they
I'm
can't hear.
trying to look also through here. I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah,
looking.
somebody can't hear me. Can you hear me now, Rashinda? Can anybody hear me?
It says no sound.
I know. I'm trying to see. I don't know what happened. Let me ask.
I hear you.
I know. Trying to see. I'm not sure exactly what happened.
There's four
I can
people
still
on.
hear.
Yes. She
Yes.
says
Okay.
yes. Yes.
Great. Okay,
Woo!
good. Woo! Listen, this is too juicy. Listen, the enemy is so upset right now.
Of course.
Okay. So I just want y'all to know the enemy is upset. So what we're going to do is press through and get this good stuff, because Yolanda's been through so much, and I just really want to share her story. Yes. Okay, great. It's back. Yes.
It's back.
Everybody can hear it.
Awesome. Thank you,
Yes.
Rashenda.
Yes. Thank you. Look, Nicole saying you need to prepare TED Talk. Listen, honey, she is a TEDx speaker already. She is. We need to replace actually on her website. And you know what? Before we get too far gone, I'm going to go ahead and show them your website so that they can see. And when they get done watching tonight's episode, they can go back and see some of the things that you
Thank you, Doc.
have.
And listen, you
Yeah,
guys, I'm rocking my fresh braids. So
I know.
fresh
You're going down
flats.
to the hair show this weekend. And you know what? We're not going to belabor, because I really we could talk
Yes.
about prison reform for a while, and what you went through. But the significance of all that you explained is just what I said
Right.
before. The fact that what you went through and all that you experienced are things that most people, like I said, if we look back at our life, and somebody type of amen, because it's true. You think back
Amen.
like, wow, I just didn't get caught. Wow, God just saved me. I just didn't die. Like, I could have done something that I could be dead right now. It's something as simple as walking going to a party or something that your parents already told you don't go. People are getting shot there. I mean, it's so many different things that people are
Yes.
experiencing.
Yes.
And so that's right, is an amen. And so I'm just saying, like, there is nothing but, that's right, Rashinda, God's grace and his mercy that's getting us through. Don't make me go to church, because I'm just,
Listen.
it's Thursday.
Listen. They
It's
have no
Thursday.
idea. Listen, I'm telling you, the day I walked into Goodwill to fill out that job application and I was leaving out to go catch the bus, I
Mm-hmm.
had no idea that they were actually looking to hire a Spanish translator in their
Yeah.
in their HR department. And it
Mm-hmm.
was one of those moments where my former pastor says, when your heart is right with God and your desires are to please him, God
Sure.
is obligated to place you in the company of the
Please. Did you
people that
say
you need to
obligated?
know.
Whew.
Huh?
I said, did you say obligated? Yes.
Yes. So when your heart is right with God and your desires are to please him, God is obligated to place you in the company of the people that you need to know that's critical to your success, your destiny, your purpose in life. And at that point, I had done everything I could. My back
Yes.
was listen, my back
Against
was
the
literally
wall.
against the wall. And what's so
Mm-hmm.
crazy about that is that right before I was released from prison, I had like 15 days left to go. And I remember I was just so frustrated, I was just ready to go home. And I remember one of my friends, not just an inmate, but a friend of mine was like, I was like, I just feel like my back is against the wall. You know what I'm going to do? And she says to me, honey, when your back is up against the wall, God got the wall too. And so my back was literally up against the wall.
Yes.
And like my back was literally up against the wall. I was scared. I didn't, I never consider myself a bad person. True, I made a horrible decision. And a lot of people was reading me from a file that had what I was in prison for. But what they didn't know was that I lived a whole bunch of life before that. And that I'm not really a bad person. I just made a bad decision. And
Absolutely.
I honestly believe that, everything happened for a reason. Like I was saying earlier, I truly believe that God said, she's going to get in trouble. But I'm going to make sure that she's going to be prepared and have a way of escape.
Always.
So when the situation do get to her and she feels like her back is up against the wall, she will know that I got her. And, I went in to apply for a job as a processor, and I was hired in human resources as a Spanish translator. And then I began to work as a benefits specialist. And from there, my relationship with my HR director, Miss Becky, who was the one that gave me a second chance, and from there encouraged me to go back to school.
That is, girl, that's church. You don't have to go to church on Sunday. You got permission because we have already had church today on Thursday. Y'all saw my live earlier, right? Thursday is the best day of the week because, look, Nicole said, "Oh Lord, I done hit the floor."
Yes.
She has prepared her. Yes, honey. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah. And Angela says she loves it. Yes. Thank y'all for joining us. Listen, now this is the part where let me tell you, if you already feel moved, this is the part that's going to really get you to the next level. Because when we say stand out of your lane, let me tell you how Yolanda has transcended all of these experiences into not one, not two, but 3 businesses. Plus, she's a whole dualpreneur where she actually has a career on top of all of that. And I know there are people watching who are like, dang, I don't have enough time. Myth dispelled, okay? Because Yolanda, let's just get into it because, and I want to mention this too. Now, she met her husband and he was with her during her time. Now, in a place where she had a lot of pressure, she felt like her back was against the wall. She has pictures. She'll show you. Have to start following her on Instagram. And I do have it. I think I have it up. We'll post it. But she has pictures of when her actual soulmate, the person that was going to walk this life out with her, when she first of all, she went to jail trying to impress one guy, right? But she came out of jail with her soulmate, who she is with to this day and is the father of her children and her husband. Okay? Will God not do it? Yes, he will. So, Yvonne, listen. Yeah, what Steve Harvey say? Hey. He will do it. And he has done it. And I'm excited because out of your experiences, right, you wrote a book. That's how we got to book number 1.
Right.
Consequences, right?
Yes.
And then you had 2 others. As a matter of fact, you just published your 3rd book now, which you guys have got to go get. Let me put up her website one more time because I want to make sure that you guys really get this because she explains her story a whole lot more on her website. In her book, but you can get it through her website. You can download it and she has master classes and all this stuff. I'm just going to say, when we first met a few years back and we started telling our stories and we were getting, to write this book together, when I read it and when I actually met you, I was just like, oh my God, I can't even believe. And at that time though, Yolanda, you were already an author, but you didn't have all of the businesses that you have yet.
No.
And this is in 3 years, you've created 3 businesses, like amazing ideas. So let's talk about your first business, which is SwimmieCaps.
Yes.
And how your daughter, Bella, has sparked that because I want people to understand that the things that happen in their lives are the things that spark what you're supposed to do. They organically, obligated. God is obligated to do these things. Tell us about SwimmieCaps.
So before I say anything about SwimmieCaps, I just want everybody to know SwimmieCaps is not my first business.
Oh, what?
SwimmieCaps is probably the 5th or the 6th business.
Girl, okay, let's start from the beginning because I'm all the way Clearly.
But no,
Wow.
listen, SwimmieCaps is see, what happened is that, when you don't understand something, and when you don't invest in things, and you try to do things on your own, or you try to launch stuff in secrecy and silence, you learn a lot. And so when it was time for me to launch SwimmieCaps, because at this point I've tried to launch several businesses, and they were very unsuccessful. And my husband is like, I'm sick and tired of this garage. Every time I turn around, you bringing something in. I was ordering from Amazon, bringing something here from there. And so, so by the time, you know, SwimmieCaps came around, SwimmieCaps was not something that I actually was wanting to do. However, we do have two kids, and since my kids have been born, I have debated. That was one of the reasons why I didn't think I would ever have kids, is because I didn't know if I would be able, or how I would be able to even tell them that I've been incarcerated. I did not want them to be picked on, joked on because their mom went to prison. Well, what I realized, that it doesn't matter that I've been to prison. As long as they get their kisses and they little stuff, and I rub their backs at night, they're good.
Listen,
Right?
nobody loves on some kids more than Yolanda. Go follow her on Instagram. You're gonna be at gymnastics practice. You're gonna be running up and down the road. Yeah, she definitely takes good care of those babies. I'm sorry. Go ahead and listen. I'm just
But
soaking it in.
and so so ever since they've been born, if we was in the store and they wanted something, and I'm like, no, and then one of them may still have it in their hands. You don't want to keep that. If mommy doesn't pay for it, you're gonna go to jail. And I was just very blunt. I just was very blunt. I must say this. I felt like my prison sentence was enough prison sentence to knock down any generational curse that ever thought of anything else to ever come up against my family. I've done it. No, it's done. No one else has done. I've done it enough. I was bold. I stood up. I did it. Now that's enough. It stopped at me, right? And
Yes.
so that's how I began to introduce my kids to what I did. So now they can tell you. And so I'm sharing this is because even when I go speak locally, out of the area, out of the state, wherever, my husband and my kids are usually sitting there watching. And so, I've never kept anything a secret from them. And as a result, my daughter is more in tune, I would say, to a lot of the things. Very mature for her age, has been since she was very little. And one day we swim. We swim a lot. We swim a lot. My husband is very big on swim. We live in Florida, and there's too much water around here for you not to know how to swim. And so he's big on it, and he's always said if we ever had kids, they're going to be swimming early, and they did. They started swimming, 5 months, 6 months, so they swam, right?
Great.
And so one particular day in January, because it's Florida, I'm not in the DMV area, anything like that. It's not
throw it in my
cold.
face. Why don't you throw it in my face?
And they wanted to get in the pool. So what happened was I went up to the local store, and my daughter saw a swimming cap packaging, and she wanted it. So I told her to grab the two, and we came on back to the house, and she was putting it on, or getting ready to put it on. And when she opened it, the first thing she said was, "Oh my God, it's ugly." And I was like, "What do you mean it's ugly?" She said, "It's a swimming cap." And I was like, "Why?" She says, "Because it doesn't have a black girl on it." Is what she said. And at this time she was 3, getting ready to turn 4.
I'm done.
Very young, very
out
young.
of the mouth of babes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And so at that point, I could have dismissed her, right? Like we do with our kids when they say stuff, correct? I could have dismissed her, but I know my child. And I said, "What are you talking about, Bella?" So she says to follow her in her room, and she started pointing to this silhouette of a picture that I had bought for her maybe 2 years earlier. And the picture is a silhouette of an African-American woman with a fro. And I bought this picture from her. I bought it from a fro pardon, I think, or pardon my fro, I think, off of Instagram. I bought it. Right. And so, and I hung it in her wall. And so she has that. And it was just important that I got that for her. Even though she likes all this Disney stuff, I wanted to make sure that she had something that was a reflection of her, And so she said, "I want that on my cap," is what she said. And I'm like, "Girl," I said, "Okay." I say what any other mother would say now. "Okay, I'll order it off Amazon," right? And I went on Amazon while they were in the pool on my phone, and Amazon didn't have anything. And I thought, for sure there has to be. somebody somewhere with a swim cap with a black girl image on it, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. And then what happened was, it wasn't. So when my husband came home, I mentioned to him, I said, hey, just kind of feeling, because remember, at this point, he's tired of me and all my ideas.
Right. This is number 5 or 6. Uh-huh.
Right.
What else
And
you gonna bring
so
on?
And so what happened was I mentioned it to him in a conversation. I was like, hey, you know, Bella wanted a swimming cap with a black girl on, and I don't see one. I went all on
Mm.
Amazon, honey, and they didn't have any. And he was like, oh, okay. And that was it. So I was kind of trying to figure him out to see where he was at. And he didn't say anything. And then I let it go. Well, then later on, when they got out of the pool, Bella was like, Mom, did you get the swimming cap from Amazon? No, Bella, it wouldn't come today. It's Sunday or Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the
Mm-hmm.
day it was. And then from there, she asked again, and I went online. And sometimes you can't see everything from your cell phone. So I
Right.
got my laptop out to try to search, and I couldn't find anything. And that's when I got nervous. I said, oh my gosh, this is weird. I don't see what I'm looking for. And again, and the reason why I mentioned anything else for, the reason why I brought up the fact that I had tried launching other businesses, because what happened is I knew that I had tried to launch other things in the past and I was not successful.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
here I am faced with this predicament of a potential product where it doesn't exist, and I may have an opportunity there. And at this point, I had to make the decision. I'm either going to move forward or not. And I made the decision to move forward without sharing it with my husband, because I wanted to wait first before I got all excited. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what
Mm-hmm.
happened. And then I think maybe a couple of weeks later, or maybe a month or so later, my first sample came. And then when my sample came, I was opening the sample up, and my daughter took my phone out and she videoed me opening it up. And then when I looked up to see that she was videoing, I left a little message. But in the message, I was crying, because I think it was one of the first times that I had ever actually took an idea, and the
And then
idea
you made
went
it
from
happen.
idea, thought, to
Mm-hmm.
reality in my hand. And it was just an amazing moment. And
Mm-hmm.
for my daughter to be so in tune enough to capture that moment on a camera was amazing. And then that particular video, I uploaded it on my page and I shared it on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And from
I think I
there,
remember that. Yeah.
what happened was Christina Milian made a comment and said, "Oh my gosh, I would love to get this for my daughter."
Mm.
And
Look at
then
that. He said he will put you in front of great men, and your gift will make room for you.
Yes. And then from there, everything else just took off. And the reason why I keep highlighting the fact that, and I think it's important that those that are listening understand, is that when I tried to launch these first businesses, I did what any other person would do who doesn't know anything. My thought process was, I'm not going to tell anyone because I don't want anyone to know my idea. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
tell anyone because I don't want anyone
Yep.
to think negative or to bring on negative energy about my idea. And I think it's not anything, it has nothing to do with that I was afraid. I don't necessarily think I was afraid to tell anyone. I think it was just, I just didn't know, and I just assumed that's how things work. And so I knew with the first couple of businesses that I tried to launch, they were so unsuccessful to that it was just ridiculous, because the stuff is still
Yep.
sitting in the garage now, right?
Listen.
But I took all of that, and this is what I want to share. I took
Mm-hmm.
all of that stuff that I tried to keep in secret, I began to share with SwimmieCaps. What do I mean by that? So, for an example, I started getting once I successfully applied or initiated a trademark. What I did was I started saying, like, hey, you guys, what do you think about this? Do you like this
Look,
or
don't
this?
brush it. Don't even brush over that. Trademarks. Trademark SwimmieCaps.
Yes,
This is big because people don't think that they can have that idea and really explode it, but you got to do it right.
yes, yes,
But like you said, it took 5, 6 things that didn't work in order to do it. So for that person who's saying to themselves, "Oh, I already had 3 ideas and it didn't work." Suppose the fourth one was the one that was going to really take you to the next level.
right,
You know what
right,
I'm saying? Suppose that was the thing that was going to really elevate you and take you out of your lane to the point where, look at you traveling.
right.
And you, because of that, though, if you don't mind me saying, that's what's really helped you to explode your other businesses, because you started literally that one and then the other 2 just started firing. Like it was just back to back to back.
Yes, and
You know?
also I want to share, just listen. I remember when I would get online on social media, and I would see people like, oh, I was highlighted here and I was highlighted there, and oh my
Mhm.
gosh, check out my article here, and I would be like, oh my god, how are these people doing this? So right, so
Mhm.
I literally would just go online and be like, oh my god, let me go to this article, let me go to this magazine, let me send an email to them, let me figure out where
Mhm.
their email is at. Oh my
Mhm.
god, oh this, I was going crazy. And you know
Mhm.
what? You know what? It just wasn't my time. And I'm not saying that
Exactly.
I'm not saying that that I wasn't entitled to it and I didn't deserve it.
Right.
But I can remember even my husband and I was just showing him emails from 3-4 years ago, even
Mhm.
5 years ago. I can remember sending emails to local stations saying, oh my God, please highlight me so I can share my story. I can
Mm.
remember, again, I can remember writing all of these magazines, major magazines, just asking, how can I get featured? Then I started going on Instagram and I would see all these, these events and people highlighting. And I was just like, how are these people doing this?
Doing
Like,
it
I
right.
wanted to know, how are they? What is this circle?
Mhm.
Why can't I be in this circle? And you know what I learned is that when you are just consistent and
Mhm.
you are just your true, authentic self, like
Yes.
there's nothing that I'm doing today that I wasn't already doing 4 or 5 years ago, right?
Mhm.
There's
Yep.
nothing different that I'm doing. I'm still me. My hair just changed just a little within the last day or two. I went
Mhm.
and got plaits put in my hair, right? Other than that, I'm still Yolanda, and I'm still doing the same thing that I've been doing consistently. And I just truly believe that just being consistent, staying in my lane,
Mhm.
staying in my lane. I didn't worry. Listen, I didn't worry about all the other stuff that was going on. My husband used to play football, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
my husband says to me when he's watching in college games, and I'm from a small town. He
Mhm.
would always say, when you good enough, they'll find you. It
That's
doesn't matter
it.
where you are.
Mm.
And I remember my daughter does
Yes.
gymnastics. My daughter does gymnastics. She's on a team, and we're out in the country. And I always say to him, you think we should move somewhere to like the city, like Atlanta, New York, because maybe she can get more, attention there. And you know what he said? He said, if you good enough, they'll
Yeah.
find you. It doesn't matter where you are. They go and get basketball players from
Mm.
overseas. If you're good enough, they'll find you. And
I'm
I've
gonna add
always
that.
kept that in my heart, in my spirit, along with my consistency. I don't worry about what anybody else is doing. And because when you do, and I'm not saying anything no different than what anybody else is saying, when you
Mhm.
start looking at everybody else, you
Yep.
get so distracted.
You do.
You get
You
so
do. It's
distracted. You
easy.
want, like,
It's easy.
you wonder to yourself, why? Then you begin to ask
Yep.
yourself, why am I getting all this attention?
Exactly.
Why are they calling me to come speak?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
listen, just recently I secured a 5K gig, 5K proposal speaking gig, right? And I'm gonna tell y'all how. Just recently, I just secured my first 5K speaking gig and a
Mm.
10K speaking gig for 2020, right? I'm not saying
Girl.
this to
Why
brag,
why
please.
you do this though, Yolanda? Why you say all this good stuff and then you like, yeah, I
I'm
just
not
did
saying this to
that.
brag, but listen, what I'm
No,
saying
what I'm
is,
saying is we need to highlight that. You know, it's okay to say to yourself, damn, I did that.
listen,
I did that.
listen,
It's
Alyssa,
okay.
that is exactly why I'm
I'm
saying this.
proud of you.
Someone was like, how in the heck did you do that? Okay, I did it because I was consistent, but just know that I've been speaking free for a very long time.
Yes.
Do
Mm.
you know? I've been
Yep.
speaking free for a very long time. And
Yep.
so I deserve this.
Yeah, you deserve
I
it.
deserve it.
Mm.
I deserve it.
I'm
And
I'm excited for you. I'm so excited. And you know the funny thing is we're sitting there talking, and you know even in this realm, and we had another lady on, and she's amazing, and she's on right now, and she writes for
who?
Enterprise.
Who?
Nicole, she writes. I mean, we have some amazing people here. This is what I'm saying. I
Girl, you
am
can brag.
excited, and
You know what?
Virginia just shared this thing all over the place. So I'm
I'm not looking
listen,
at the comments. I'm
and
so
I'm bragging on
sorry.
her
I'm so
too because her
sorry.
story
They
is
see my
amazing as
uppercut
well.
going.
Yes, she's oh my gosh. So you just never know how your
So
story is going to impact others and who's watching. And I'm really
listen,
excited to hear that. I'm
listen.
really
I
excited to hear
I
that.
just shared on my
Just on my too.
Facebook page. I just shared like not even a day or two ago, and I said I don't care if there's 20 other people that have been to prison, I'm still going to share my story.
As
because
you
no
should.
one can tell my story like me.
As you
And
should.
there's somebody that hasn't heard it. And
Listen,
so,
you know what? Somebody told me our stories get old to us because we know it and we felt like we shouted it out 1,000 times. But there are still people that have to be blessed by the story, which is why you do what? You write books, which is why you do what? Why you speak, right? You have to give life to your story because the story doesn't belong to you to start with. Your story is for the world. Your experiences are for the world. We learn from them, but they are for the world. They are for others who are going to be blessed by it.
Right.
Now, I want you to tell us about business. Well, I'm going to call them business number 2 and 3, even though this is probably 11, 12, 13. Okay. It's probably 11, 12, 13, girl. But I want you to tell me because I want to make sure that everybody's that we're here and that we're getting this full story because you have these other 2 businesses that you just took SwimmieCaps with the color and everything. And you just ran with it. And I'm telling you, I am waiting for my bandages. For my children.
They are coming. So listen. I think I'm gonna have to I have a special place for my daughter because it's, true, she's just a child, and I just believe that God just really truly speaks through her. And I think I needed her. I needed her in my life, and I didn't know why. Because my husband and I only just wanted one, and then we have a second one, and this second one is just unbelievable. They both are unbelievable.
She a fireball all by herself. She has your personality 100%.
She does. She may not look like me, but she does. Has my personality.
Well, she definitely does look like your husband. I'm sorry. 9 months, 9 months, and honey, she ain't gave you not a thing.
She has my knees. She has my knees.
She does. She's beautiful. Both of your kids are absolutely beautiful. But please tell us about BlendiTone.
So the BlendiTone bandages and the Undies by BlendiTone, the underwear, they are a bandage line for kids, and they are going to highlight a lot of the images that truly reflect who we are, and they are not just inclusive of just us, but inclusive of individuals with barriers, with disabilities. And so that's what I truly love about my brand and the Undies. Of course, both of them, and I want to share this with you all. We were in a store, and my daughter fell off the swing set in school onto the little stick stuff. I can't think of the name. And they had a bandage, and then we get to the house, and my child does what everybody else children does with bandages. They just, for whatever reason, they walk by something, they need a Band-Aid. They do this, and they smile too hard, they need a Band-Aid.
Right. My friend asked me for one today. I said, "What's broken? Please." Right. Where's blood?
So when we went up to the corner store there, the store up here, they didn't have any. And then she turns to me and says, "Mom," at this time she's what, 5? 4 or 5. She's like, "Mom, they don't have any bandages that look like me." And I said to her, "Bella, don't start.
Don't start. Because mama already got 10 businesses and I'm
trying to write a dissertation. Do not start."
Oh my goodness.
And then what happened was I was in Walmart looking around, just looking and just noticed that there was a need.
It was not there.
And
you have it.
And so that's what happened. And the only reason why those 2 haven't launched was because my graduation, I was trying to meet the deadline for my dissertation, and graduation was all around the corner. And so
Dr. Perkins, I gotta brag on my friend. I mean, since you're gonna float over everything, I'm gonna be the one to pause you and say Dr. Perkins, because within these last 3 years in building, for those of you who are just joining on, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Listen, for the last 3 years, she has built 3 different businesses. Federal inmate who has now turned entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, and is now was always a scholar, but is now, I'll say, a super scholar. She is Dr. Flournah Perkins, and we're so proud of her, so proud of you, Yolanda.
Thank you.
And your path. Yes, absolutely. And this is just the beginning. She tours all over. So if you guys are looking for a speaker, make sure that you connect with her. Please follow her. I'll put up her website again. But she also has information on her website, if you don't mind me mentioning this, Yolanda,
Yes.
that talks about, it's a masterclass, and it talks about how you can become a TEDx speaker without
Yes.
experience.
Yes. So
Okay?
yes.
Tell us about that. It was an
So
amazing
I want to
video.
share with everyone. Believe it or not, when I was at the Federal Correctional Institution in Tallahassee, I was part of Toastmasters. There was a group from
Mm-hmm.
the outside world, in the free world. There was a group that would come in. Toastmasters International was there, and they would come in, and basically their job was to teach public speaking to the inmates.
Mm-hmm.
And one particular evening, our homework session for in class was to watch a VHS tape of a guy that was speaking. And our assignment was to count the number of times the speaker said, um, when they're talking. And so, while I was doing the assignment, I could not help but to just say to myself, like, what is he doing? Like, where is he that he's able to stand on this platform and then
Mm-hmm.
people are just listening to him talk about whatever it was that he was talking about? And
Mm-hmm.
so when we were done with the class, I remember asking the guy that was there, and I said, what is this?" And he
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Oh, it's called a TED Talk." And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, who is TED? Like, what is it?" Was my first time ever hearing of a TED Talk. And so he began to explain to me about TED Talk. And I honestly, and I say this all the time, I don't believe that he was dismissing me when I was asking about it. I believe that he was just looking at me where I was at the time, because
Mm-hmm.
I was asking, like, I didn't necessarily come out and say, "I want to do one of those," but I was just asking
You
questions.
wanted to make sure that you didn't have any thoughts of doing it, though.
He was just like, "Well, that's a TED Talk. I don't think that's nothing for you to worry about right now," is
Look
what he
at that.
said. And
Mm.
that was it. But I'm one of those ones that once I see it, it's already rooted, it's planted, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of hard to undo for me,
Yep. Yep.
for me.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
so time went on, and what happened was it was triggered. The memory was triggered when a mutual person of ours, Lanice, was talking about her TED Talk over in Morocco.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh my God, I remember I wanted to do one of those." And that was
And you
it.
did.
And that was it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so what happened was, again, I'm in school at Nova Southeastern University. And what happened was I was logging on to do some homework one Saturday morning. And as I was logging on the screen, soon as you log onto the home screen of Nova, it said, "Have you ever wanted to do a TED Talk?" And I thought, "Oh my God, I didn't know they post these." And so I looked on and, oh my gosh, wow, they actually do. And I do what everybody else do. Oh, I'll get back with it and apply for it at a
Mm-hmm.
later time before the deadline.
Wow.
Unfortunately for me, because I was so busy doing this and that, the deadline passed. And it just happened to be some weeks later. And I was laying down one Saturday morning, had
Uh-huh.
my cell phone in my hand, and I was logging on, and I was going to search for something, and the home screen of Nova was still up,
Okay.
and it was the screen of apply for the TED Talk, and I thought, "Oh my God, oh man, it was the deadline was on Friday, I missed it. Oh my God!" So I clicked on it anyway because that's just
Mm-hmm.
Yolanda,
Right. As
and
you should.
it sent me to the application page. I was like, "What?"
You know who that was in the background. Nothing but God.
Come on. So I filled it out and I screenshotted it just in case. I took a screenshot of it just in case it didn't go through, and then I had to get on my desktop. I wouldn't have to, repeat
Do it all over.
think about what I wrote again. But I hit submit and it says thank you. It has been successfully submitted. So I
Wow.
said, okay. So on Monday, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I called around about 10 o'clock and I said, "Hi, this is the number that was on the text talk screen. I just wanted to confirm that you received my application." So she says, "When did you fill the application out?" I said, "I filled it out actually on Saturday." She says, "Oh yeah, darn it. We forgot to take off the link." She says, "But we have it now. So you're good. We're going to be
Mm.
interviewing and then we'll get back with you." And I thought, okay, is she serious? I was like, really? It's one of those things
Wow.
like, are you serious? This is really happening?
Mm-hmm.
And then not even, I don't know, a couple days later, I got an email that was inviting me to interview.
That is
And
amazing.
so I interviewed, and this is what happened. I basically told them that I had went to prison, and I would love to share my story. And they shared what the theme was, and how was the theme, how the theme was going to be like drop, stop, drop, and roll, and putting out the fire. And when you think about putting out the fire, you think about stop, drop, and roll. And then from there, three things came to mind. When I stopped, drop, and roll is when I was in prison. I stopped because that's when I had to own up to my mistakes.
Yep.
And then I had to drop, and that's when I dropped by reframing my mindset. And then how I was able to roll was when I was rolling with second chances, rolling with the punches with second chances. And
Child,
that's
stop, drop, and roll.
stop, drop, and roll.
Stop,
And that's how
drop, and roll.
yeah,
Wow. That is so amazing, girl. I'm
yeah,
telling you, I feel like I'm so full, and I feel like I'm hearing it for the first time, even though we have spoken for years and years. Yolanda's the person. Let me just be honest with you guys. And I know we've been on here for a little bit, but Yolanda is the person that when I have an idea, like, who is, you got to have that crazy friend. And I'm not saying crazy like crazy, but you got to have a friend that's going to be all the way out the door with you, who going to say, girl, we could do this and that. And you also think we could do this. Wait, what? Let me call with my phone. Let me call such and such right now. Let me call because I know.
yeah.
Listen,
So my
she is
nickname
the
is
friend that you can call and say, I got this idea. And she going to roll with you. Everybody needs one.
Listen, my nickname that I've been told is I've been given the nickname the brain.
As you should, Doc.
I
As
just, you
you
know what?
should.
I have just been I have been, I've acknowledged and accept the fact that what I think may come easy to a lot of people or may come challenging to a lot of people actually comes very easy to me, and I don't
Mhm.
take it lightly. And I never forget that I always have to juggle between the reason why I am where I'm at has a lot to do with the fact because I did something wrong, and I never want to
Yeah.
minimize that. And so I
Mhm.
always am very humble because I can remember the days that I, wanted to commit suicide and that I couldn't see
Wow.
myself getting through this, and I never saw the light of the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
But I wanna make sure that I was able to get where I am today because not only the women in prison that were positive to me when there were days that I broke down because I was a baby,
Yes.
and then the people that God has placed in my life along the way that has inspired me, the women and the friends that have texted me and said, hey, just checking on you. They have no idea how those little moments matter
Mhm.
and still matter. And so, I don't take for granted any opportunity or platform to share
Yes.
because I don't want people to feel like that they have to waddle in their mistakes. I I am very grateful,
Yes.
and I am very grateful for
Oof. I'm not
everything
gonna cry today.
that
Sheesh.
has happened to me. And you know, I am there's not a day that I don't think about the time. There was even a recent experience that I'm not yet ready to share,
Mm-hmm.
um, but still comes to me every now and then when I think about being in prison.
Yeah.
And so, if my story can at least challenge and inspire one person,
Yes.
I have done my job, my due diligence. I have
Yeah.
done my job. I
Yeah.
would find it very robbery of me to not share.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I say that I don't take it lightly, I do not take it lightly.
Yes.
I am so grateful. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why I push my kids. I had to step back a little because I was making them do homework on Saturdays and Sundays. And I just want I just want them to succeed. I just want them to have every ounce of tool, and I don't want them to make the same decision that I made or the same mistake, but I know they're gonna have to I'm gonna have to let them go at some point to be
Yeah.
free. And I just have to pray that I've done the best that I did, like my mom did. And I made a promise to my mother when I was going to prison. When I was in prison, I made a promise that I would never, ever, ever go back again. I made a promise that I would pivot from this. I would pivot. I didn't know how. But I want people to know that this is what a lot of people are looking at, is the now. They're looking at everything now. But
Yeah.
man, they have no idea. If they saw my emails how many no's, unanswers that I've received, how many times I have literally cried, fell asleep on a laptop, how many times I have thought, God, what am I going to do? Like, and so I just want all of us to just have
Yes.
this whole access to this table. There have been times that someone has been holding on to a phone number or an
Mhm.
email to make a
Mhm.
connect for me. And
Mhm.
it's just so frustrating. Why do we do this? And
Mhm.
I just want people to know that, everyone has made mistakes. We
Yes.
all have. No one's perfect, but to just believe in second chances. And if I can, share my story and at least challenge one employer, one hiring recruiter, one
Mhm.
executive to change their mind about someone like my boss did
Yes.
with me, I've
Mhm.
done my job.
Yes.
I've done my job.
Yolanda, might I even add that, where I feel like God is taking you with your businesses, and Rashinda's on here, honey, she a prophet, not me, but let me just say, you are positioning yourself to be an employer. Okay, so you are positioning and poising yourself to be a person who can give that chance, who can open up the door for somebody else to say, I'll walk through it. Now let me help you. Let me grab your hand and pull you through. That's who you are. That's why, even though we are friends and I love you, you are my sister in Christ and all that, but your story is yet being written. Okay, so your story, we're thinking that this is now. Yeah, this is now, but this is still the beginning for the latter.
Right.
Your story just continues. It doesn't stop, and you still have so much to give. And as you continue to bless and serve God's people, He's going to be attentive to your needs. I'm going to be having you on here in another year talking about, oh, business, what, 18, 19? What are we doing, Yolanda? How many employees do you have again? I'm
So
claiming.
it is my goal. It is my goal. It is my
Yes.
goal in 2020 to hire. My app will be out, and
Yes.
so let me tell you all really quick before we go. I don't know how much more time we go, but I want to share this. And someone tagged me in a picture this morning on Facebook as a memory, and it reminded me how long I have been trying to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So about, I don't know, 6 years ago, well, actually about 8 years ago, when I first got out of prison, not when I first got out of prison, but a year or two after I got out of prison, I was reaching out to some of the women who I had been incarcerated with, and I was asking them, oh my gosh, I would love to interview you for my website.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess at the time, that's what you consider now is like a podcast, but it wasn't that. I didn't know it to be worded as a podcast. I just wanted to share their stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I got was, I'm sorry, Yolanda, I'm not really open to sharing that. And then I was like, huh? Like we've been out of prison
Wow.
for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Or what I got was, why you want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Or you want to do what? Or I got no answers. And so I moved
Wow.
on. I didn't allow that to stop me. So I moved
Mm-hmm.
on and I launched this event.
Mm-hmm.
And I put a lot of money in this event.
Mm-hmm.
And I booked out a whole ballroom at a hotel
Wow.
and paid for a celebrity to come, only for it to be filled with maybe just some of my family and the people that I invited as
Mm-hmm.
speakers,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe 5 to 10 more people. And I was really bummed. I was really bummed. I failed miserably with this event. And not
Mm.
only did I fail miserably, I failed in financially because I lost a lot of money.
Wow.
And so I made it my business at that point that I would never do something like that again. And over the years, I've been receiving, even recently, a lot of requests on hiring. Can you hire me? I'm trying to find a job. Why am I getting hired for a job? And then these employers bring me on for a start date only for a day or two later to tell me that I have to be dismissed because of my background. And so this is something that I've been hearing a lot more. And one name recently, or one company
Mm.
recently that came into play, was Amazon. And so I thought, this is crazy, and so I'm continuing. Even today, I probably got about 50 messages about this. What can I do? Can you recommend me somebody? So I have this same idea from 6 years ago, the same idea that I wanted to do 6, 7 years ago that wasn't successful has popped up into my brain again. And then, not only that, when I was writing my dissertation, I tried to write my dissertation on everything except incarceration. I just didn't want my chair in my program department to know that I had been incarcerated.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't a success. I failed in that. And then finally I said, you know what? I have to write about prison. So I chose to do my dissertation on a qualitative study on how formerly incarcerated African American women define success post-prison. And believe it or not, the dissertation went through so easy breezy that it was
Meant to be.
recommended for an honorary distinction, or however you a distinctive award, or however you announce it.
Mm-hmm.
The point I'm trying to make is, no matter how many times or how long I tried to distance myself from this prison, the reality is it's just part of my life and I can't.
It is.
And
Mm-hmm. It's
so
a testimony. Mm-hmm.
recently I was on the website of my alumni where I graduated with my bachelor's degree. When I got out of prison, I went back to school.
Mm-hmm.
And I got accepted into Florida Gulf Coast University. And I was on their website recently. Because I needed to obtain the password and access to log in because I wanted my transcripts.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about entertaining the thought of becoming an adjunct professor. And so I needed to produce my transcripts.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm going on this website, again, I don't look for anything. Things just come to me. I go on the website of FGCU's website, and there's this program that they've recently started
Mm-hmm.
where they're looking for alumni and current students to participate in this incubator program.
Okay.
To help you build your apps or your technology. And I thought, okay, I know I said I wasn't going to do anything after I graduated, But let me just test the waters.
Mm-hmm.
So I filled it out, no different than I did with this TED Talk form that I did.
Mm-hmm. Sound familiar.
And submitted it and didn't think anything of it. And I'm minding my business, just trying to enjoy my family, enjoy this graduation, waiting on my diploma to arrive so I can see it. And I get an email where I've been accepted for an interview. So I thought, okay, I was just testing the waters. Okay, well, I'll go to the interview and see. All right, we'll try it out.
Look, your test was God's testimony.
Right? So I walk into the interview, and they already knew who I was because they have been following me on social media. So when I present to them what I would like to do, they were already ready and yesing. Woo! So I've recently been accepted into an incubator program to help build an app that has been a part of my life deep down.
That is so awesome.
7 years ago I was trying to do, and it just didn't work out. It didn't work out. And now here I am several years later, and the same opportunity where I now am a part of a program where I won't have to even contribute a dime.
Won't he do it?
So when I say that I am just sharing this because I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't even had a moment to really sit and to think about my accomplishments. Mm-hmm. I've been so busy with my 2 kids.
Yep. But hey,
so there's more to come.
Yeah.
This time my focus is on returning citizens. Mm-hmm. And hoping that I can make an impact some way, somehow.
Yes.
And so
you are.
I wanted to share that. So once everything launched and I have this finishing product, you and I'll be in touch with you as the time go on. We'll have to make another date for this.
Of course.
So maybe my next date I'll have to come to the DMV area where I'm going to be sitting right next in front of you.
Please do, because I think Nicole already said that she wants to get with you. So we're
Okay,
gonna definitely
yes.
make that happen. Listen, I just want to tell you thank you again. Um, we're friends, but I felt like I learned even more about you,
Aw.
more to love, more to enjoy,
Aw.
and more to support.
Yes.
We're here, and I think a lot of people, usually people watch this afterwards. But even for the people who joined, I want to thank everybody for coming,
Yes.
because you guys have been amazing, engaging. And thank you, Rashinda, for sharing, and for ladies for joining.
Yes.
One of the things we didn't get to, but I will just say it very quickly, and you guys will be able to go to our website, stayoutyourlane.com, and be able to get it. It's an actionable to do. And what this week's actionable to do was the instructions. We usually have everybody get their notebooks out and like really get into it. But basically, what I want for you guys to work on this week is to write a list of the things from your past or that are in your current life, just like Yolanda, that you feel like are holding you back, whether it's a fear or it's just anxiety about something that you feel like in your life right now that is holding you and constricting you from doing something else, right? So that's on one side. And
Okay.
then after you have an opportunity to look at that and really assess what those things are, right on the other side of that, if that thing didn't exist, what would you do? If those things were not there, what would you do?
Wow.
And for each one of those things, I want you to come up with at least two positive affirmations that completely negate that negative statement or that negative thought about yourself, and start repeating those things. Start repeating those things and start telling the enemy where he can go.
Yes.
Because God, as you can see from Yolanda's story, God has already prepared. He's already made a way for you to get in and out of this thing, but you have to learn the lesson, right? You have to learn the lesson in whatever it is. So as you work yourself through it, you can go and look at the things that you are now able to do because you dispelled those negative myths already.
Yes.
So that's your homework. It'll be up on the website tomorrow so you can download it. You don't have to try to remember everything I said. But I think that the content of what we got today with Yolanda's story was so much more than any of us could ever imagine. And again, I just say thank you. Yes, Rashinda has said that was good. And I want to hear you guys' testimonies next week. Maybe I'll pop on. We actually have somebody coming on tomorrow. I mean, I'm trying to get people in. And you know what?
Yes.
We said this before. Yeah, but when you serve God's people and I'm able to push everyone else's story before mine and so much more. Listen, we are able to have a community of people who are able to grow and to thrive and who are going to be able to pour into other people. So that is truly what staying out of your lane is all about. Because had Yolanda stayed in her lane, she would have never been able to come out and share her story, right? Because it's able for all of us to grow. So, girl, you done set my whole soul on fire. Like Nicole said, she done hit the whole entire floor. Thank you, Taylor, for joining. Thank you. We
Yes.
are so
Thank you.
appreciative. I want you guys to join us tomorrow evening and also again next week. Yolanda, you know this phenomenal lady who's coming next week. Kalila Wright of Mess in the Bottle. Yes, she will be on next week. Man, she was just on BET her last week. See, we got
Yes.
some people coming through. So I'm gonna be looking. I'm gonna need my backstage pass, Yolanda, when you get on. I'm just,
Delilah, look
you
at
know,
you.
I'm just
Once you
letting
got
you
the backstage
know.
passes.
Absolutely, Brishna. She said we can't do it by ourselves. Absolutely.
Oh,
We're not to be islands onto ourselves. So with that, guys, I want to just say, or ladies, I want to say thank you so much. Good night. Oh, Nicole said this was amazing. Thank you so much.
thank you,
I'm
ladies.
glad and
Thank you,
honored.
everyone.
Yes, thank you all so much. So please tell everybody about it. They can come back on and watch the replay.
Yes.
With that, I will see many of you hopefully tomorrow. If not, catch the replay when you can. And with that, have a good night and be blessed on purpose with purpose. Take care and good night.
Good night.